Hey everyone, this is Matt, and in today's video we'll be doing a few things. One, I'll be addressing some of the criticisms that I've received for my videos or my deck profiles. In particular, from one, uh, very vocal, let's say vocal participant of the Dark Magician Discord channel, who for some reason just continues to just like go after me and like shit on everything I say or put out for some reason. And then next, so we're going to go over some of those comments, and then um, the latter half of this video, I'm actually going to go over, I'm also going to do some show you some matchups, and just show more replays of games, showcasing my deck in action, and those games will be against this very same user. Alright, so let's get started. So, on the Dark Magician Discord, I myself posted, you know, like in October, I posted my own, in-depth competitive Dark Magician deck list, and next day, Loza did as well. Well, he posted his own video, basically promoting my video and like going over my content. So there's a particular user that just ever keeps on going after me. So like for example, this guy. So I've blacked out his name. I'm not gonna say it or write it out anywhere because again, I don't want this to be like, I don't want people, I don't want this to be like a targeted, like I'm targeting this person or like giving them unnecessary, like, I don't know, attention or whatever, but, because, it's just, this could be anyone, right? Like, uh, someone else in the future might like talk shit about me, and the stuff I put out, and like, the same, similar logic and what I'm about to say and like show can apply to them as well, right? So this isn't about one person. It's just about like this person is just like a stand-in for like anyone who uh, likes to just lash out or like go after me or whatever. Anyway, so he says, all right, try and make it worse going second, okay? Um, if you recall my very first replay video that I put out on my channel against a Zombie World player, I literally win going second both games. That's right. So I 2-0 them going second both games. So yeah, I've been playing Dark Magician since like early this year, right? And so it's been 9, 10 months or whatever, and I've definitely beaten, not only have beaten like players while myself going second, but like I know he's gonna say, oh, like you can beat any back row deck ever. Like, yeah, I've beaten plenty of back row decks. Um, and then he says some stuff about like Secrets of Dark Magic, Magical Eyes, and he keeps pushing that I run the Rokket package. So like have some Rokket dragons. The reason I don't want to run Rockets in my deck is because they're degenerate. I don't like like combo decks in general, with a few exceptions. I'm a sucker for heroes because of the anime, but the Rocket Link, the Rocket, whatever Dragon Link stuff, I don't really care for. So no, I'm not gonna put random combo packages in my video, right? Or like in my deck profiles. That's just not something I'm interested in doing. And then similar here, like he said. So Lowe's is promoting my video, and then he said, "I hated that list. Terraforming village trash." I, I mean, I don't understand. Okay, like limit in main. That's he's referring to something like zero going second cards. So clearly, someone who's either trolling or just like purposely ignorant. Like, yeah, secret village of the spellcaster is not great for going second. I mean, it could be, right? Like, it's not bad, but it's definitely much better going first, right? Um, like, even if you're going second, like let's say they have a set Forbidden Droplet or Super Poly, you activate Village and then you start comboing off using Rod or Souls or whatever, like, and then they can't use Super Poly or Secret Droplets on your turn. Like, it's not a bad card going second. Obviously, you prefer going first. And then Terraforming, like, this is a card that searches Magician's Salvation. Like, it literally thins your deck and can potentially bait an Ash Blossom. Like, why? I never saw someone like randomly shit on Terraforming. It's just like a great card. Like, no one's ever said it was a bad card. Summon limit in the main deck. I've showcased in my some of my profile videos that like summon limit going second is fine. And the zero going second cards. I mean, I have triple tactics talent, which is good for going first or second. Definitely stronger going second. And a few other cards that are perfectly fine for going second. And then he talks about something about droplets, not targeting. Uh, yeah, so Forbidden. Yeah, I think the point he was making was like he didn't understand what I was saying about Secrets of Dark Magic. I mentioned how Secrets of Dark Magic can help you play around Forbidden Droplet, and he's saying, "Oh no, it doesn't work because Droplet doesn't target." Like that's not the argument I was making. Like either rewatch my video and listen again, or rewatch the latest video that I put out last night, showing the interaction between Secrets of Dark Magic on your opponent's turn with Dragoon and how it can interact with Droplet. So yeah, like I'm not saying Secrets of Dark Magic is like the best card. Like yeah, if you're looking for something to cut, I would definitely say Secrets is one of the first cards to go. Like if you need space for other cards, but yeah. And what happens when you're versus a trap deck? You have so many bad cards. Well, I do have another video where I do play a trap deck, an Eldlich trap deck with some Dogmatika stuff in it. I think. Yeah, and there I'm able to play through that right and win. And I've played plenty of other trap decks. In fact, in this very video, I will show more replays of me playing against backrow heavy decks and show that I can win. Right. Um, yeah, play pilot second out and Dragoon and lose a dice roll. It's like, well, I mean, a lot of decks that lose a dice roll are a significant disadvantage. So just saying, oh, you lose a dice roll, like you might, it might. I mean, I would say going first in Yu-Gi-Oh has like a 70 to 80% win rate. If you go first, like that's just the way the game is, right? Like I don't think this is a unique problem to like my deck, and like yeah, some of the better decks are ones that can win going second and going first, right? But yeah, obviously I don't like going second and losing dice roll, but it's still I can still play. It's not like I instantly scoop or anything. So yeah, let's see, man. There's just some gems in here, like just constant complaining. Uh, yeah, and then and then like he's talking about here how my deck is inherently weak. Use an argument that isn't based on anecdotes. I'm like, bro, like most of Yu-Gi-Oh is anecdotes. Like this is we're not a this isn't there's no scientific method going on here. It's just like yeah, try running certain cards and certain deck builds, and if they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. Right? Like you have to actually try it, not just like theoretically build it and say, oh well this is clearly going to work. But I've been yes actually play the deck, and I have been playing right. Um, It's like, oh, Secret Village does what versus traps? So I say, oh, Secret Village is not good against decks with a lot of traps. I'm like, okay, fine. But again, I run one copy of Secret Village. He's making it sound like I'm building my entire deck against Secret Village. Yeah, hilarious. But also he's making it sound like trap decks are like dominating the meta. Like, bro, when was the last time a trap deck actually won, you know, a any event, right? YCS, whatever. Like, I think in 2019 or something, or maybe 2020, like a Subterra deck won a YCS Invitational or something. Like maybe that's the closest thing, but like in general, if you see an event, an Invitational, YCS, whatever, like the top deck is almost always like one of the meta combo decks. Like you don't see a trap heavy deck winning, like straight up winning, right? It very seldom happens. Yeah, I think the Altergeist pack one with Altergeist once, like some time ago. Like it does happen, but it's really hard to really like remember or like look back at like the history of like professional Yu-Gi-Oh and be like, oh yeah, trap decks are clearly like the strongest decks, or like yeah, and he's like, oh, they constitute probably 30% of top cuts. Is like, okay, like what about the other 70%, right? Like this is just silly. And then I've even said like I've played against trap decks and I've been fine. Like it's just practically what happened, right? And then he says, "Oh, it's an anecdote, right? Like I mean, the fact that I played and won against trap decks are just anecdotes, right?" And then now he says he wants to test, right? So he's challenging me to duel. And then I said, "If we test, won't it also be an anecdote? Like hashtag logic? Like yeah, what exactly? I mean, right? Let's say I win, he can just wave it off as an anecdote. If he wins, I can wave it off as an anecdote, right?" He's like, "Sure, but it will give better understanding since it's dedicated testing and not just random opponents on EDO Pro." Like, I don't get how you can defend this. Okay, I'm defending the fact that I have already, with my Dark Magician deck build, have a history of defeating trap decks ranging from Altergeist, Eldlich, Guru, Salads, Buster Blader, etc. Like, these are things that already happened. Like, yeah, you can say those are anecdotes, but like if in my experience I've been fine against them, like, then what what else is there to do, right? Or to say? And then he goes on to say like, oh, Salamangreat isn't a trap deck. Yeah, sure. It's not like a trap heavy deck like, Eldlich, but I mean, I've played against plenty of Salad players that like, run like all 6 Solemn cards, Torrential Tributes, like Ice Dragon, like salads are more combo heavy, but they definitely super rely on their back row because Sunlight Wolf is not a good boss monster to end your board on. Like the back row is like Sunlight Wolf being on the board is only good because of the back row, right? Like by itself, it's a crap monster. It doesn't do it. It doesn't do anything. Um, Anyways, yeah. So he's implying we test. And then I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll test, but not tonight because I had to sleep. It was like late for me. Whatever. And then I did try to contact him a couple nights later, and he said he was busy, so this was put off, like delayed. And then last night, he saw my video that I recently ran against Gozen Match. Or sorry, I recently put out a video yesterday about Gozen Match and how Gozen Match is probably going to be um, probably the best go-to floodgate for Dark Magician, like, because Rivalry is not going to be very good against Sword Soul nor against Fluenderies, right? So now, I think this is hilarious. So he says, he messages randomly on the Discord saying that he watched my video. I'm like, really? I did not promote my video on the Discord. Like, if you search Discord, I never posted a link to it. So that means he's subscribed. He's either subscribed to my channel or someone else linked him the video, right? If he's subscribed or he just randomly happened upon it, like after literally saying like, "Oh, my deck profile was useless. It can't win against backrow. It sucks going second." Like, why are you still watching my videos then? If you right? If I'm just so bad and dumb and like, and because he said he hated my uh, deck list. Where is this? I hated that list, right? So he's calling stuff trash, like 0 going second cards, right? He just like apparently despises me and my deck list, and yet he watched my recent video like that I put out yesterday. Like, let's see if he commented at around 8 my time, like I put out the video what, like 5, 6, like, so he watched my video within like 2 hours of it dropping. Like how nuts is that, right? Your deck is still very go first reliant. I'm like, dude, it's a control deck. Most control decks are going first reliant, right? Like, yeah, we have like even an Eldlich deck. Yeah, there are cards that you can side in or that can work going second, but you definitely want to go first if you can, right? That's just the way. That's just the way control decks are, right? And then he said, yeah, Dragon can play through Gozen Match because I like all I did was I mentioned in my video that Rivalry of Warlords does nothing against Dragon Links, but Gozen Match can do something. I'm not saying that Gozen Match is going to end Dragon Links and they're not going to be able to play through Gozen. All I'm saying is that, hey, there's a few points where you can pop Gozen Match against a Dragon player and they can't make some certain combos. I mentioned like Heretic Seal is a light, Romulus is a win, right? Like there are a few points where you can lock them in to a certain attribute, right? Whereas Rivalry, like there's no points where you flip Rivalry of Warlords and like Dragon Link cares or it changes anything. I simply mentioned offhand in my video that yeah, like Gozen's going to be better than Rivalry against Dragon Link. That's all I said, right? And then he says it's an auto lose. Yeah, so my deck, despite the Gozen Match change or whatever, it's still an auto lose, right? Auto lose implies I'm gonna get O2'd by every trap deck, right? Going first or second. Automatically lose, right? So yeah. Um, so keep that in mind because we'll get back to that auto lose argument, right? And then we get into some argument about Tri Brigade. Stupid, and he's like, oh well, Tri Brigade can just like Cosmic Cyclone your floodgate. I'm like, yeah, no shit, but like, are they actually main decking Cosmic Cyclone or are they side decking it? Like, do you have any negates to their Cosmic Cyclone? Do they draw their Cosmic Cyclone? It's a non-searchable card in their deck, like, right? It's just like saying, oh, yeah, he's just like arguing like, oh, there are outs to floodgates. I'm like, yeah, there's out to every board. No board is 100% unbreakable, right? Like, oh, it's outable. Yeah, you can describe to me any board, and I'll tell you a way to, and I can tell you how to break it. Like, it's this is just a ridiculous argument. Yeah, and then he literally like goes to nitpick because I mentioned under Gozen Match, Tribreak cannot get into can't go into Ominous Omen because Ominous Omen is dark and none of their combo pieces are dark monsters, right? And then he said, also it's called Omen or Shureg. So he nitpicks the fact that I called it Ominous Omen instead of just Omen or just Shureg, right? I'm like, bruh, it's literally in the name, Ominous Omen, right? Yeah, like Omen is shorter than Ominous Omen, but it's not incorrect to say Ominous Omen. Um, plus, like, I don't know exactly what shorthand he uses. I don't know this person. I don't know if they know what card I'm talking about, right? So I thought Ominous Omen was more information just in case. I don't know. Like he's nitpicking me calling a card by its half of its correct, like, full name, right? It's ridiculous. All right, so we do end up playing. So uh, the match that he challenged me to finally happens. So let's go into it, shall we? By the way, last night we played a total of 3 matches. Okay? So he knows my deck profile 100%. Okay? Why? Because he's seen my videos. So he has perfect information of every card in my deck. Meanwhile, we play 3 different matches where he plays 3 different decks that A, I don't know the archetype, B, much less like what every card in the deck is. B, like, I don't know if it's tailored specifically to screw me over because, if he knows my deck profile, he can accordingly adjust his deck profile to specifically screw me over, right? If, like, for example, it's like if you're going against a player that only has Dragoon, like, you just run a bunch of kaijus, right? Like, for example. Or if, like, you're going against a backrow heavy player, you main deck backrow removal. It's like, yeah, there are ways to, like, cheese and be like, haha, I knew what your deck was, and I built my main deck specifically towards you. Anyway, so we played 3 matches last night. The first match was Sky Striker. He used a Sky Striker deck, which, by the way, ran Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, right? He lost that match. Unfortunately, that was the only match I forgot to record the replays of. It wasn't until the second match that I thought it would, like, this was the way that these games were going on, that it would be hilarious for me to save the replays and show the games. Yeah. Second game, he plays his quote unquote back row deck that includes like Eldlich, Dogmatika, he has some Dragon Link and like Dragoon stuff. And then I beat him there. And then in the third match, he plays an Altergeist deck, right? Which is a back row. Because remember, my deck can't win going second, and I auto lose. Where is that? Auto lose. Where is that? Auto lose to back row decks, right? Okay. Well, if I auto lose, let's see how some of these games went. All right, let's start with the Dragon Link one because yeah. So you'll note here that in the Dragon Link deck replays, I only show replay of game 1 and game 3. The reason being is in game 2, it was a short game. I surrendered because I was half bricked in the sense of, like, I opened 1 monster and like 4 spells, and he went first and had Imperial Order, and I did not have Cosmic Cyclone to, like, chain to that to take out Imperial Order. So, like, it's like with four spells and 1 monster, I can't do anything, right? So I just scooped. But I will say, like, oh, doesn't that mean the profile is bad if you auto lose to Imperial Order? Well, like I said, if I had drawn Cosmic Cyclone, I would have just chained and taken out Imperial Order. But also, Imperial Order is a one of. And if you'll notice here, let's start this replay. Okay, so let's swap. All right, so I'm on the bottom now. His deck is a 60 card deck, right? Which means, not a 40 card, it's a 60 card deck, which means if you have a 1 of Imperial Order in your deck, you're drawing it 1 out of 12 games, right? It's a 1 in 12 chance of having Imperial Order in your opening hand. So the fact that he did have Imperial Order in his game 2 against me, and that's the sole reason for his victory, right? Because it's like, if I could play spells, like, I definitely could have played through his, the second game, like, shows that. So you're like, he's saying, oh, I'm relying on luck to win the dice roll. I'm like, bruh, you're relying on luck to open Imperial Order in a 60 card deck, right? Like, that was your only win condition, was Imperial Order, like. Anyway, so let's get started here. So, um, yeah. So as you can see, it looks like he has like an Eldlich deck, but if you just go through his list, he has like Buster Blader stuff. He has a Eldlich. He has a bunch of backrow stuff, Ecclesias. You know, he's got just a bunch of random. He like fused together Eldlich, Buster Blader, Dogmatika, like Dragoon, and Dragon Link all into one giant mess cluster fuck of a deck, right? So that's what he's playing me, right? And this is his back row deck that I'm guessing he designed because if you himself because if you recall, uh, he literally says, where is it? Oh, this is funny. Oh wait, no, that was me. Yeah, I was the one who said I've defeated Eldlich, Buster Blader before, and you know Altergeist. Altergeist is what he plays me in game 3. Like, so I've definitely defeated these decks before, but you know, it's just funny that like he's literally just like fusing all these decks into one monster of a deck. Anyway, all right. So in this case, I do go first, and then let's see what I do. Very straightforward. Oh, actually, no, he goes first. Oh, okay. So this is a game where I go second and I win. Huh, that's interesting. I thought I was relying on the dice roll to be able to win my games. That's funny how these things work. All right, so let's see what we have. All right. Yep, Titanic Clad. All right, so interesting. Okay, so he actually ends his board with an Ecclesia, punishment, torture tribute, super poly. So he effectively has 4 interruptions, right? Punishment is an interruption that can pop 2. Torture tribute is an interruption that can clear the board. Super poly is an interruption that can fuse my monsters, and obviously he has fleur de lis in the hand that is an interruption that can negate an extra deck monster of mine, right? So this is a solid opening. Although I will say, like, dude, why are you running more than one Ecclesia? Like, do you really need more than one? Which makes me wonder if he's running more than one Fleur de Lis. I don't know. I just don't understand people who run more than one Ecclesia unless you're playing like a pure Dogmatika deck that like where this is your main starter and you have nothing else going for you. I don't know. Like anyway. All right, so let's see what I get. So I top deck Soul Servant, which is great. Yeah, open Red Ice Fusion. The only ways to stop this is Ash Blossom or um, Solemn Judgment. He has neither, right? Yeah. By the way, uh, but for you Dark Magician players who like to run one Red Ice Fusion, like it's like a much higher chance to see one in your starting hand. You have 3 than one, and like imagine having to go in Anaconda playing through this freaking board right here, right? Like, why would you subject yourself to that when you can just play Red Ice Fusion and get Dragoon? Because not only that, like he cannot super poly me if all I have is Dragoon. Like Dragoon and Ecclesia do not super poly together. Anyway, all right. So Dragoon to pop. Yeah, and now punishment and tribute are literally useless at this point. But I know he has punishment. Like I'm aware of that. Always keep that in mind, like to be aware of these things. All right. So swing for 3,000. All right, and now I make my play here, where I get Upstart Goblin to get and Soul Servant to get Circle. By the way, it's like every time I draw Upstart Goblin, it's like a good card. Like I don't know if you people have noticed in like my other videos, but every time I have Upstart Goblin, it's useful. That's the thing about Upstart Goblin. Upstart Goblin, by definition, is never a brick, right? Let's say you don't have Soul Servant, it just draws you a card, right? If you do have Soul Servant, it draws you exactly the card you want. So please run Upstart Goblin. I beg you. Like I'll make so many videos about why Upstart Goblin is good, whatever it takes to get you people to run Upstart Goblin. All right. Anyway, so I got Circle. So let's continue here. I use Circle and Souls to basically get a second Dark Magician. The reason I get the second Dark Magician was, first of all, I already have Eternal Soul. Getting Salvation doesn't make sense because I don't have Dark Magician Girl. So I get a second Dark Magician, so that way, just in case, one of mine gets banished, because he is running a back row heavy deck. So if he has Ice Dragon's Prison, I still want to have that second Dark Magician. But also, I want to be able to set these 2 cards, and I need a card in my hand, right? And, like, Dark Magician is a great discard for Dragoon, so. Anyway. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't see that, when I banished Soul Servant, look what I drew, Solemn Strike, right? So I'm now going into his turn with 4 interruptions. Dragoon negate, Skill Drain, Solemn Strike, and Eternal Soul with the circle, right? So 3 cards on field, 3 in hand, and I have 4 interruptions. So let's see how this plays out. By the way, I'm going second here. You know, remember, I auto-lose to backrow decks, and if I lose a die roll and go second, I can't win, according to this guy. So, all right, let's see what he does now. So he opens Rokket Tracer, and then he summons out. So again, I know he has Fleur-de-Lis in his hand, and he will definitely chain Fleur-de-Lis to attempt to negate Dragoon, right? So I know this. You know, so technically, if I need my Dragoon negate to go through and he tries to stop it with Fleur-de-Lis, I have Solemn Strike, right? So I'm safe from his. So just always keep in mind like the cards that the opponent has, so that you have ways to play around them. All right. All right, so he goes into Dragon Link combos. At this point, I'm just letting him play on. Like, there's no reason to interrupt, right? Only interrupt when you think it's, like, absolutely necessary, right? It's like, oh, he wants to summon a bunch of dragons. Like, I don't care. Like you go play on, right? So he makes a thing, and then he makes Chaos Ruler. At this point, okay, so he's going to... All right, so let's step back. Whoops. All right, so at this point... Whoops. Okay. He has a 3K beater on his field that he can use to crash into Dragoon. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, if he enters battle phase, at the start of battle phase, I'll use Eternal Soul to banish this guy, right? And then he won't be able to use its second effect to recycle it back, right? So that's what I'm thinking right now. But instead, so this is the card I did not know he had. He decides he's gonna super poly his Chaos Ruler with my Dragoon, right? So this is obviously bad for me, because now he's removing one of my interruptions, right? I had 4 interruptions, now I have 3. But again, this interruption cost him another card. Granted, it was a vanilla, but it's just, you know, it's essentially 2 cards for 1 that he's doing the trade here. Okay, so let's carry on. So he makes Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, uses Chaos Ruler to revive, summons Fleur-de-Lis. So his goal here is to OTK me, right? He has the damage to OTK me. Well, let's see if he can. So battle phase. All right, Ecclesia attacks first. Fleur-de-Lis tries to increase the attack, and this is when I go for the Soul Servant play. Or sorry, the Eternal Soul play. Alright, so I bring out Dark Magician, and I banish Fleur-de-Lis. The reason I banish Fleur-de-Lis is because I don't want, you know, it's a 3,000 beater, which I only want to deal with one of them. Like, it's better to deal with 1 3K beater than 2, just in case, but also, like, you know, the longer Fleur-de-Lis stays on the field, the stronger his Dogmatika monsters get. So I just want to take out Fleur-de-Lis immediately. Okay. So then he uses Starving Venom Fusion. Oh, okay, so here's a spicy play. Alright, so let's rewind that. Okay. So he declares attack with Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Okay. But after the attack is declared, he activates Dogmatika Punishment. Because in his view, he can send Entis. So Eternal Soul protects Dark Magician from being destroyed by punishment, but it does not prevent targeting. So you can still target Dark Magician to send Entis, right? If he sends Entis, he can use Entis to pop Eternal Soul and clear my board, and then he can do, you know, 5,800 damage to me, right? So let's see what happens. So targets Dark Magician, sends Entis. Again, all this is predictable. I knew he had Dogmatika Punishment from the very first turn. I knew he was going to try it to pop 2 of my cards. And as soon as, you know, I lost Dragoon and my only protection was Dark Magician with Eternal Soul, I knew that he was going to try to use Entis to take out Eternal Soul. Again, this is why game knowledge is so important, right? This is why I didn't shotgun my Skill Drain or my Solemn Strike or my Dragoon negates, because I knew he still had, like, plays he can make, and I was waiting for these plays, right? Alright, so Dark Magician stays on the field, and guess what? Entis is going to trigger, and at this point, you know, he tries to kill Eternal Soul, because if he does, I'll be kind of screwed. But I have Solemn Strike, right? Most of the time, Solemn Striking an Entis is not a good idea. But the reason I'm doing it here is because it's just one of those plays where it allows you to retain control of the board, right? Like, think about it. If I lose soul, Eternal Soul here, I'll go into my, next turn with only a vanilla Dark Magician in hand and nothing else, right? I have Skill Drain, but like that's not really going to help me out here. Like, Eternal Soul, at this point, Eternal Soul and Dark Magic Circle is my win condition, right? Because I can bring back the Dark Magician, banish one of his bigger monsters, attack and kill Ecclesia, and then do so again on the following turn, right? Um, so yeah, I need this Eternal Soul to stay on the board for me to have any chance of winning, given the current state of the game, right? So yeah, I'm gonna use Solemn Strike here because it's a good use of the card. So he still kills me with Starving Venom, and attacks me with Chaos Ruler. All right, that's fine. All right, and then he sets up his Eldlich stuff. Okay. All right, so this is kind of a lucky top deck. But is it? Because, alright, so I know he has Elixir, which will be able to bring out Eldlich, right? Um, so whenever I use my Dark Magician Banish, or my Magical Circle Banish, uh, this turn I will not target Elixir, because if I do, he'll just flip it, summon Eldlich, right? So, but on the next turn, he'll probably have Eldlich by the next turn. Then I can use that and banish the Eldlich. Because remember, when you're playing against Eldlich, don't banish the back row, banish the monster, right? The monster has no protection against targeted, and once it's banished, like the rest of the Eldlich back row becomes useless, right? But the fact that I top deck Magicalized Fusion means, guess what? I can go into my second Dragoon, right? Which is and I can still make plays with Circle and Souls. So yeah, this game is over. He just doesn't realize it yet. What is it, that anime line, Ome wa mo shinderu? Yeah, right? Anyway, so I play Magicalized Fusion, and as soon as I do, he instantly scoops. Because, yeah, he can see the writing on the wall. Like, Dragoon will pop 2 monsters, attack into the third, and then Dark Magician will revive back through Eternal Soul, and I probably banish the back row in the middle, not the Elixir, but the Torrential Tribute here. And then he goes into his next turn with a Buster Whelp against my board, which has a Skill Drain, which he's not even aware of. But also, like, I'll have 2 interruptions against his, like one monster, 1 card in hand, and 1 back row. Like, so yeah, this game is over. And remember, I won going second. All right. So game 2, I go second again, but I lose because he top decks Imperial Order. I don't have that replay. It's a boring game. Like, yeah, he lucked out on Imperial Order. Nothing you could really do about that. All right, game 3. Let's see how this looks like. So game 3, I do go first, and right off the bat here, I open the best card in the deck, Upstart Goblin. I'm gonna elevate Upstart Goblin. It's now the best card in the deck, right? Because every time I have it, it's just a great card. All right, so let's see what happens. And he has a fairly good lineup of back row with an Eldlich. All right, so Hornet Drones brings out a thing. Grabs another Hornet Drones. So here's a cool thing about Hornet Drones and like the Sky Striker package. It's so plus, like, you net so many cards off it, so instead of going like Kaina and then Hornet Drones again, I'm actually going to use Magician Soul here, send Dark Magician Girl, right? So that, just putting bricks into your graveyard. Summon this. Alright, now I have 2 bodies, I can go in Anaconda. But before I do, I'm going to use Upstart to get my draw. Oh look, Dark Magical Circle, right? Which is just, yet it's half of what I want. Like, ideally, if I could end all my first turns with Dragoon, Circle, and Souls, I would. So this is half it, right? So Upstart already did its job, right? And at this point, since I no longer need Hornet Drones, I'm just gonna ditch it to the graveyard to get a draw. Because why not? Oh, and I drew Eagle Booster. Brilliant. So now I go into Anaconda, and if he has any interruptions, like Effect Veiler or Infinite Permanence, I have Eagle Booster to protect Anaconda, right? So, and if he doesn't, Eagle Booster is now discard fodder for Dragoon, right? Like, it just works. Everything about this, like, just works out nicely, right? All right, so let's go into Dragoon. All right, so I used Circles, and I got the God top deck draw of Soul Servant off of it, which is hilarious because I have 2, I have both DM and DM Girl in the graveyard, so, well, yeah, this circle netted me a lot. See, Upstart Goblin got me the circle, which got me a Soul Servant. Like, I'm telling you, Upstart Goblin will win you games single-handedly. Alright, so then I go into Soul Servant, put Salvation on top, draw 2, Oh, look at this. I drew Solemn Strike, right? Like, so take a look at this ending board I'm gonna have. This is just beautiful. All right. So, I'm going into their turn with 4, maybe 5 interruptions. Dragoon negate, Eternal Soul with banish, like Solemn Strike is third, Gozen Match is the fourth, and if he still manages to get a beater that's stronger than Dragoon, I have Apprentice Illusion Magician in my hand to boost my Dragoon to 5k or 6k depending on where it is, right? Where it's at, right? Um, all right, so let's go to the next game. All right, so in this case, I flip Gozen Match early. I flip it on draw phase. Why do I do that? So the reason I do that is because if you watch my other Eldlich video, so I don't know this guy's deck. I have no idea what cards in it. He knows every card in my deck. I don't know a lot of cards in his deck. But if you watch my other Eldlich video, a common card that Eldlich trap decks like to run is Lava Golem because they don't really need a normal summon, right? So flipping Gozen Match right here protects me against Lava Golem. It also protects me against Kaijus, right? Specifically, like so before this match where he played me with his deck, he played me with a Sky Striker deck, and in one of those games where he played Sky Striker, he outed my Dragoon using Gamma Seal, like the Kaiju from his hand. So yeah, just in case he sided in a Kaiju, I have Gozen Match to protect my Dragoon. So he can no longer Kaiju me, except with Radiant, and he can no longer Lava Golem me. So Dragoon is just safe, right? And this is also kind of forcing him to play around Gozen Match because remember, his deck is kind of like a hybrid of everything. Eldlich is a light, Dogmatika is a light, Rokket, the Dragon Link package are all darks, right? Like so, like yeah, there would be better times for me to flip this, like more when he needs something to go off, but I just do it here early because of just history and like game knowledge. And I think, okay, I just want to make sure I don't get Lava Golem or Kaiju here. All right, so let's continue. So he goes into the Eldlich discard effect, which will allow him to pop Eternal Soul, right? And this is where I use my first interruption, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so I think this is a good interruption because 2 reasons. One, he spent 2 cards to attempt to pop Eternal Soul, and I'm spending 1 card to stop that. So this is a 1 for 2 card trade. Yes, I know that the Eldlich cards can bring more Eldlich cards from the deck, but those are cards I have to worry about later, right? But right now, like, I want to make sure that I do not lose Eternal Soul. The reason for that is because he's inevitably going to bring back Eldlich, right, from the graveyard. That's just what Eldlich does. And I want to have Eternal Soul so I can banish it. Because remember, banishing the Eldlich monster significantly improves your ability to beat an Eldlich player. Just knowing that he has the Eldlich means, okay, I want to use Circle to banish it. All right. So he sets a card, and then he uses it to summon Eldlich. So right now he spent 2 cards, right, to bring out 1, and I've spent 1 card. At this point, he's at 35. He's at 3,500. He goes into battle phase. So at this point, I force him to go into battle phase because, he's locked into light monsters because of Gozen Match, and so he can't go into access code or like do anything. Like imagine if I did not wait for battle phase. Imagine if instead of letting him go to battle phase, I use Eternal Soul and banished him in the main phase. Then he can still make plays in main phase 1 that could potentially lead to a monster that can attack and out my Dragoon. Maybe, right? Like, granted, I have a Prince's Illusion, but I'm forcing him into battle phase, right? So that his turn is less ideal. And as soon as he goes into battle phase, then I use Eternal Soul, bring back Dark Magician, banish, chain block, so no more Eldlich, and I have the M Girl. Alright, so now that his Eldlich is dealt with, he has 3 cards left, and I still have 1 interruption through Dragoon, and I have Gozen Match, which is just a floodgate, right? So he starts making his little Dragon Link plays, yada yada. Okay. Brings out a thing, they start Chaos Ruler. Alright, so at this point, like, he's locked into darks because of Gozen Match, so I don't know if he runs Romulus. A lot of Dragon Link players do run Romulus, but yeah, he cannot Romulus from here. Romulus would, in a Dragon Link deck would allow them to keep extending their plays, but in this case, he doesn't have that option. Okay. His top decking is pretty weak. Alright, so he opts to go into Anaconda. He plays a cost, and I negate him. Alright, so I do want to see what his Link 2s were, right? So the fact that he went Anaconda made me think that he couldn't go into any other Link 2s. Alright, so he has a Nightmare Phoenix, which is a possibility. No Romulus. Okay, so he does not have Romulus. So the only other Link 2 he could have made was Nightmare Phoenix, and he could try to use Nightmare Phoenix to either pop Gozen Match or pop Eternal Soul. However, because I have Gozen Match and Nightmare Phoenix is a fire, he cannot go into Nightmare Phoenix, even if he wants to, right? So his only choice was Anaconda. Because like if he left his board as it was, like with Striker and Chaos Ruler, I just pop his board and it's over, right? So he tries the Anaconda play, but because I was patient with my Dragoon negate, I was able to use it to stop it. So he sets back row. All right, so Ice Dragon's Prison and Prologue are pretty good. So let's get into that. Oh yeah, and then he uses 2 Eldlich cards to bring out Elixir. So most Eldlich decks have 2 Eldliches in their deck. I banished one of them. Let's see if I can look into his deck here. Alright, let's see how many Eldliches he has. I want to say he has 1 more in deck. Wait, what? He has no more Eldliches in his deck. Okay, this guy is worse than I thought. Alright, buddy, I don't know if you're watching this video, but if you're an Eldlich player, you need to run 2 Eldliches. Wait, is it in the graveyard? It's not in the graveyard, so he has 1 Eldlich. What the F? Oh my god. Okay, I was sitting there the whole time where okay, he's gonna use Elixir to bring out his second Eldlich, and then I have to save my Circle Banish for that Eldlich, right? That's what I was thinking. But then this dude doesn't even have it. Anyway, so I get a God tier top deck, Magician's Rod, put everything in attack mode, Summon Rod. Alright, so here we go. So he changed Prologue of the Destruction Swordsman to my Magician's Rod. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, this card will send some Buster Blader cards from the deck to the graveyard for cost, which he does. So you always send Destruction Sword Memories and Buster Blader, the Destruction Sword Master. So he sent that. And then after this resolves, he's going to summon Buster Dragon from his extra deck. This one here, whose effect says makes all my monsters dragons. And then, see, this is where game knowledge comes in. Like, I know how Buster Blader decks play, so I know I'm not going to bother negating this, right? Like, I want him to, like, summon the Buster Dragon and send this to the graveyard, right? Like, do not, like, so if you're playing against Buster Blader, never negate Prologue. Prologue is not what you negate. What you negate is Destruction Sword Memories in the graveyard effects. All right, so let's see what happens. Ooh, all right, so he banishes this. Just as predicted. So this banish will allow him to fuse Buster Blader in his graveyard with any dragon to make the Buster Blader fusion monster. So if you all don't know what this does, this card has a continuous effect which says all your opponent's dragon monsters go to defense mode and they cannot activate their effects. So this combo with these two on the field are basically like pseudo skill drains, just for me, right? Like so all my monsters go into defense mode and they cannot use their effects. Like they cannot even activate, like not even pay cost, right? So at this point, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to negate that with Dragoon, right? Because I know, like, letting him set up a skill drain board on my field is no bueno, right? I don't want that to happen. Now, the thing is, because I'm using my Dragoon negate, he's going to opt for the Ice Dragon's Prison to, basically banish my Dragoon, which I don't care because, again, like, if I lose 1 card on my field, right? As opposed to letting him do his Buster Blader combo, which will get him 2 monsters, and just skill drain my entire board. Skill drain and Dark Magician doesn't really matter, but, like, these are, like, this guy is still like a beater, right? Like, the Buster Blader monster is still like a 2800 beater that gains 1000 attack for every dragon. So, yeah, it's going to be a board that's much, so it's like, okay, I'll let you take my Dragoon, but I still have an Anaconda on the field, and what do I have in my graveyard? I have Red Eyes Black Dragon, and I have Dark Magician on the field, so I can still make Dragoon, right? the point is, I'm still in control of this deck. And in fact, I'm going to use Magician's Rod to get Soul Servant. Soul Servant is going to put Souls on top of my deck. I'm going to draw 2. Souls is going to send a second Dark Magician to the graveyard, right? So now, at this point, so he's surrendered because he can see the writing on the wall. But yeah, this is just like so good. Yeah, so Magician's Rod will send Dark Magician to the graveyard. I'm going to summon itself. I'm using Magician's Rod to send Secret Village to the graveyard to get a draw 1. Then I'm going to use Anaconda to send Magical Eyes Fusion, fusing the Dark Magician and the Red Eyes Black Dragon in my graveyard into my second Dragoon. That Dragoon will pop, 1200 damage. Then I have 16 plus 500 is 21, plus 2000 is 41, plus 25 is 46, plus 3 is 76. So that would have been game. And I still had Eternal Soul. And actually, I probably would have linked this Dark Magician away into Link Spider before I went into battle phase. So that way, if he does, I'm going to try to force him to bring out his Eldlich because I know he has the Elixir. Yeah, and then I can bring back Dark Magician and immediately banish the Eldlich. So yeah, this is game, and he knows it. So, all right, so that was our second match. So I'm already 2-0 against this guy, like in terms of like matches, best of 3s, right? And then he's gonna play Altergeist. So this one in this game, I 2-0 him. So let's see what happens. All right, so this is remember he said that what is it? I auto lose to backrow, and that I rely on dice rolls, right? Like I have no going second ability, and I have to go first. Otherwise, like it's just my deck profile is just super useful. All right, so he's playing a trap heavy deck, Altergeist, going first against me in game 1. All right, so let's see what happens. All right, so he sets 2, passes. I use Red Eyes Fusion because why not? And he uses Ash Blossom to negate it. Oh no! So normally that's usually bad, but Triple Tactus Talents lets me draw 2, right? So this is another reason why Triple Tactus Talents is so good. It's like the draw 2 after being ashed just opens up so like you have more things that you can do, right? All right, so I end up top decking Judgment and Salvation. Wait, was it Judgment? I think no. Let me step back. So this is funny. So yeah, look at this opening hand, by the way. So my opening hand consists of literally 3 bricks, right? Sorry, I just thought this was really funny, and I had to share. I want to make this point. All right, so this hand is pretty bricky, right? Dark Magician and Red Eyes by themselves do nothing. Although if I had a Secrets of Dark Magic, that's a Dragoon. Summon Limit, going second, not so good, but and especially if he's a back row deck, which I suspect because he's set 2 and pass, Summon Limit will do not much to his deck, right? I have Red Eyes Fusion, and then I have Triple Tactics. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I can bring out Dragoon, put Summon Limit down, and maybe like if he does have a weird combo, like if this is like some Dragon Link variant or whatever, like I can still like stop him, right? And then when my turn starts, I draw Dark Magician Girl, yet another brick. Yeah, so this is hilarious because this is not a great hand. So I'm going second with a quote-unquote, auto-lose deck profile with no going second cards that can't play against back row decks that just auto-lose, right? And this is my opening hand. It's even like worse than you realize, right? Make matters worse, the one good card I had, which is Red Eyes Fusion, gets Ash Blossoms. So at this point, I just feel like I'm really screwed. But Triple Tactics helps me draw 2 cards. Salvation and Judgment, very solid. Judgment will help me play through his traps. Salvation gets me Eternal Soul, and then Dark Magician is suddenly not a brick anymore. So not bad. Yeah, Triple Tactics, very solid card. All right, so I have Summon Limit, Eternal Soul, and Judgment face down. So feel pretty good. If he tries to back row clear me, I have Judgment. If he tries to combo off into like Dragon Link, since I don't know his deck yet, I have Summon Limit. And, worst case, I have Eternal Soul to bring out Dark Magician. All right, let's see what happens. So he sets, and then end phase, I bring out Dark Magician. Alright, so he goes for the alternate spoofing into multi-faker. Multi-faker brings out Silquidus. So, this is... Alright, so... let me step back before that. Okay, so... For those of you who don't know, multi-faker is special summoned through an activation of a trap, so that's what he did here. And Silquidus was summoned from a deck from multi-faker's effect. So Silquidus is their main... not boss monster, but like annoying monster, where this card once per turn can bounce an Altergeist card back to the hand to bounce a card back to my hand. So right now, if he uses Silquidus to bounce Eternal Soul back to my hand, my field will get cleared, right? Which is not so bad because again, it bounces to my hand, not my deck. So here's what I do in main phase. So first off, I tribute summon. Yes, I tribute summon Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl. Why I do that? Because I want Dark Magician in graveyard, so that I can use Eternal Soul with Circle in my hand. And also, I want Dark Magician Girl in play so that when she inevitably goes to the graveyard, Magician Salvation will be live, right? But at this point, I just I play Eternal Dark Magical Circle. Well, let's see. I go to battle phase to attempt to kill Silquidus because this is the problem monster. So he uses personal spoofing to get Kunkari. Kunkari is the one that allows him to negate attacks. But I have summon limit. So if he tries to Kunkari, I can just summon limit because he's already summoned 2. So yeah, so this won't work anyway. Anyway, so he uses Silquidus to bounce Multi-Faker, which is a good bounce, and he's going to bounce Eternal Soul. But in response to that, I'm going to bring out Dark Magician so that I can at least get Dark Magical Circle to do something, right? So Eternal Soul activates in hand and will clear my field, and I'll lose all my monsters. However, because I fulfilled Dark Magical Circle's request, a condition, trigger condition, because I summoned Dark Magician, I still get a banish. So before my board clears, I'll get a banish, and I'm definitely going to banish the Silquidus because it's the most annoying card of his to deal with. And most Altergeist players run 2 of these in their deck. Yeah, so if I banish one, I only have to worry about one other, and then I'm good to go. So I banish that, and then my field gets cleared, which is okay because Eternal Soul is still my turn. I'm literally going to set it back. And look who's in the graveyard, Dark Magician Girl, and look what I have on the field, Salvation and Circle. So I'm in a great spot, and again, I still have the Solemn Judgment as a backup. So I'm saving the Solemn Judgment for when I really, really need it. Again, you have to be patient with your plays. Don't shotgun all your negates. Like, yeah, I could have used Judgment on this personal spoofing. I could have used Judgment in other places, but no, you have to be patient, and you'll see why patience will pay off. All right. So let's see what he does on his turn. So on his turn, he draws Meliseek. Meliseek summons. For those of you who don't know, Meliseek, when it attacks, can attack directly, and when it does damage, it sends a card of mine to the graveyard. So he's going to try to clear my back row with this. So before he attacks, I use Eternal Soul. The Dark Magician. Banish Meliseek. In response to me targeting Meliseek, he's going to use Personal Spoofing to shuffle Meliseek back for another monster. So this is how Altergeist players play. Every time one of their monsters is targeted or whatever, they use Personal Spoofing to just shuffle it back and get a new monster. But I stopped his Meliseek's effect, and I got my 2 bodies on the field. So this is a success. All right, now. All right, so my turn. I'm going to Link Spider so that I can get this guy in the graveyard. I'm going to go into Anaconda, right? But before I proceed, I'm gonna use a turn. And why did I go to Anaconda? Because I still want to use Eternal Soul. I haven't used it yet, right? But the best use of Eternal Soul right now is to use it when both Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl are in the graveyard, because I'll get 2 bodies instead of 1, right? So if I go Anaconda here, I send DM Girl to the graveyard. Whereas if I bring Dark Magician back and then Anaconda, I'll have 2 bodies on the field instead of 3. So bring back Dark Magician. Banish. So I'm going to banish this card here, and then I'm going to, so and then that gets banished. Now that I've banished Manifestation, now I use Verdi Anaconda to bring out Dragoon, using the Dark Magician for my deck. So let's see what happens when I try that. So I send Rash Fusion, and oh no, he's gonna Solemn Strike me and stop me from bringing out Dragoon. Remember when I said that patience pays off? Good things come to those who wait. And look what I have here for that Solemn Strike. Solemn Judgment, baby. Yes. So now I'm gonna go into Dragoon, and I'm gonna have enough damage to just kill him. Right? Look at this. Look at this beautiful. Yeah, he just immediately surrendered. So because he knew I had enough damage to finish him, and there's nothing he can do about it. Like even if he tries a Kunkuri, I negate with Dragoon, and I have 4,000. Yeah, the game is over. So going second with a bricky hand against a trap player, and I won. How about that, right? All right, this video is getting pretty long, but I promise you game 2 will be quicker. So let's see what game 2 looks like. All right, so let's swap. It's funny that I side decked in Harpy's like backrow kill here, Harpy's Feather Duster and Cosmic Cyclones, and I also sided in Gozen Match. So I'm still using the deck profile that I had before my Gozen Match video, where I main deck Summon Limit and side decked Gozen. Well, I guess Rivalry, but I switched to Gozen. Reason I wanted to main deck Summon Limit is because he made it a point to say that Summon Limit was a terrible going first deck, or going first card, or going second card. Limit in main, right? He was shitting on this, saying, "Oh, because I have Summon Limit in my main deck, my deck is garbage, and I'm gonna lose," right? So I chose to prove him wrong, keep Summon Limit in the main deck, and use my other floodgates in the side deck. In this case, I swapped in Gozen Match for Summon Limits. The reason being, I know I'm against Altergeist decks, and Altergeist are all spellcasters, but they're all different attributes. So like Kunkuri is earth, Melusik is water, Silquidus is a wind, etc. So Gozen Match really good against Altergeist. So funny enough, he has Summon Limit and 2 Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Which is funny because he literally said Village Trash, right? He said it right here. He didn't say Village in the main deck is trash. He just said Village Trash, right? So I just think it's hilarious that he's shitting on Summon Limit, which granted maybe he does side deck it, and he's shitting on Secret Village, and yet he opens Secret Village and Summon Limit. It's just the cherry on top of this hilarious like sequence of events, right? Alright, so let's see what he's going to do. Spoilers, nothing. He sets Summon Limit and passes. Alright. Alright, so I get a God Draw, Soul Servant. Alright, so what happens here? Well, I have Harpy's Feather Duster, which is great. But he has 1 set card. So typically when you have Harpy's Feather Duster, you want to make sure you use it to get more than 1 card. Ideally, the most ideal case for Harpies is 3 cards or more, if you can. 2 cards sometimes, 1 card almost never. Almost never play Harpies against 1 card. However, I know that he is playing an Altergeist deck, which means his back row cards are probably very, very important to him, right? Like more so than the average deck. And B, he kind of needs his back row cards to combo with like monsters. So like, if he had like Multi-Faker in hand, like this might be a trap that like allows him to summon Multi-Faker and bring out Silquidus. So even though I would not recommend using Harpy's Feather Duster to take out 1 card, not only do I think here because of the matchup it's worth it, but also look at my hand, right? Like I have enough here to go into Dragoon and set up a really, really strong board that he is not going to come back from. So if I'm able to just wipe out his back row so that I can combo off unimpeded and set up my board, then there's nothing he'll be able to do to crack my board. Like why? Because all right, so let's just do this. All right, so Alright, so he surrenders. Alright, he can probably see the writing on the wall too, but alright, so here's what I would have done had he not surrendered. Alright, Souls comes to the field, Upstart Goblin, play. If he does Ash, he's an idiot. If he doesn't, I change Soul Servant, put Rod on the top of the deck, draw Rod. Summon Rod, search Magician's Salvation. At that point, he'll probably Ash, at which point it doesn't matter, because I already have Soul Servant in the graveyard. Rod and Souls becomes Dragoon. Verdi Anaconda. Verdi Anaconda brings out Dragoon. set Solemn Judgment, set Gozen Match, draw 2, um, and then I'll go into his turn with very least, like, let's ignore my draw 2 from Soul Servant, right? At very least, I'll go into his turn with Solemn Judgment, which is amazing, Dragoon, which is a negate, Gozen Match, which, as I've stated before, like, kind of shuts down Altergeist because all their monsters are different attributes, plus whatever I drew from my top deck, right? So 3 interruptions and possibly a 4th depending on what I draw, right? I mean, he's gigabricked right now. Like like once he saw Dark Magician Girl go into the bin rather than Dark Magician, he knew that I had a good hand, and he just didn't bother, right? Like, so yeah, yeah. So that was funny. So yeah, so this guy who spent a lot of his time, apparently like watching my videos and shitting on them on the Discord, he got his wish. We played together. He played 3 different decks without me knowing what they were, without me knowing what cards that were in it. He got to go first in at least 2 of them in game 1. He won the die roll or the rock paper scissors, whatever. Like in the Sky Striker one, I think I went first in game 1, right? But in both the subsequent matches, I went second in the first game, and yet I won all 3 matches. So maybe my deck profile is not so shitty after all. But yeah, like again, this is where practice and like game knowledge and like just experience comes in play. Like these matchups, the limitations of your cards. Yeah, okay, obviously summon limit in the main deck, maybe not so good, not as good. And in my other match about Gozen Match, I make the arguments that summon limit can probably go to the side deck for now and Gozen Match in the main deck because Gozen Match is better going second, right? So sure, my deck profile is not perfect. I'm always looking at ways to improve it. In fact, I am testing a variant of it that uses the Dogmatika package because Loza hyped it up so much for me, and I also saw that recent profile using the Shadal Schism and like the Shadal package that I think it Loza who hyped up. Someone in the Dark Magician community hyped up. So I will be running those, and I'm gonna try that out in my locals, and then depending how I perform there, I might make another deck profile video on that deck profile. But yeah, so moral of the story here is this deck is plenty fine going second, and it's plenty fine against backrow decks. Apparently, according to this random dude on Discord, it is not Autolose after all. So yeah. Anyway, just thought that was funny. Because ever since our games, he's been relatively quiet on the Discord recently, and hasn't been, like dumpstering and like shitting on my YouTube videos and like my deck profile suggestions anymore. So, hey, man, like hopefully you learn that maybe I'm not an idiot or like out of my mind after all, and that yeah, maybe there's some merit to what I've been saying in my deck profiles. But yeah, if anyone like wants to engage with me, like I don't mind constructive criticism. Like I'm always willing to learn and improve. And this is why I like Laza so much. Like yeah, he roasts people like in a comedic way, but like yeah, he and I have disagreements, but it never gets into like this like really nasty back and forth of him just like shitting on everything I do. And like I don't know, like be constructive. Just we're all Dark Magician players. We're all trying to help each other build the best possible deck to make our favorite archetype, our favorite whatever, like as strong as possible and as competitive as possible. So anyway, I hope you all learned something, and sorry if this video is long, but long videos are fun. It just feels like I can like there's a lot to say. There's more you can learn. But yeah, take care and thanks for watching.